Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly, and I am back with another episode of Start Before You're Ready. And my guest today is going to bring so much knowledge and expertise to this conversation. I'm really excited to talk to him, and I know you're going to love hearing everything about Tim Carter. So Tim actually is part of the Todd Durkin Mastermind as well. I'm having so much fun talking to some of my mastermind friends, getting to know them a little bit better, and getting to share them with this podcast community. And I really wanted to have Tim on for a multitude of reasons. And I want him to share a story. I want to tell you guys about his incredible book that he wrote. This is Tim, Find a Way, Unlocking Your Best Self. But just to give you a little heads up on our relationship, we met back in 2018 at a retreat, I guess it was a mentorship. So it was a 3.5-day mentorship at the Rancho Bernardo Inn in San Diego or in California. And I don't think we really had direct conversations then. Tim says he remembers the workout, and we were connected during the workout. But since then, every time I've been to a retreat, Tim is my guy. I love connecting with him. I love sharing with him. He always pours into other people. He's such a great listener. He really has it on his heart to not only improve his business and his what he's doing with his community, but he always wants to hear about everybody else's community. And I really love that about him. So I'm going to let Tim introduce himself and give you guys a little bit idea of what he does, and just share a little bit of background.
Wow. Kelly Young, that was an awesome intro. Thank you for that. Like Kelly said, we met back in 2018 at a 3.5-day mentorship. And just for any listeners right now, I remember the warm-up we were all doing our own dynamic warm-ups as a part of the group. Everybody got a chance to go in the middle, and she started doing this snake warm-up.
We went in the middle.
The snake warm-up, and we were just going around these columns of people. It was epic. The energy was awesome. I was like, I got to meet this woman. We didn't end up actually meeting until 2023 in Whitefish, but to your point, Kelly, since that time, every time we've been at a retreat, we've always had great conversations and all that kind of stuff. But thank you for having me on. Again, my name is Tim Carter. I've been in the fitness industry for over 10 years as a strength and conditioning coach, as a trainer. Man, you talk about who I've trained anywhere from ages 6 years old to age 85. So a wide range. And I've trained high school athletes, college athletes, some pro here and there. But right now, I'm currently training at the Cleveland Clinic in Green. Been there about 4 years and primarily do one-on-one training, small group, and then a couple large group classes as well. Other parts of my life, I've been in higher education for 8 years, overseeing undergraduate enrollment, graduate program enrollment as well, working with high school kids all the way to people that, want to earn their graduate degrees or maybe have left school and came back that wanted to finish their undergraduate degree. So a lot of great conversations and great networking in that realm. And most recently, I have dove into the e-commerce world within retail. So I do a lot of website operations and tech strategy for Lane Bryant, which is a women's retail company. I've been there about 2 years. You want to call it jack of all trades? I guess
jack of all trades for sure. This is why I didn't try to tell everything that Tim does, you guys. He does a lot, and he's just getting started. He's just getting started.
But yeah, that's I guess my career in a nutshell. Grew up in Columbus, Ohio. Have been up in Northeast Ohio since 2011. Went to Walsh University, small Division II private university in Canton, Ohio, home of the Pro Football Hall of Fame for those NFL fans out there. Have been up here since with my wife of almost 4 years now. Our daughter Sloan, who is 2, and then we are expecting by the time this podcast comes out, number two could be here.
It will come out in a couple of days, Tim.
Then you never know. March 14th.
We're gonna beat your baby.
But no, just extremely blessed. Grateful to to have the experiences that we've had collectively. My wife is a physical therapist at Cleveland Clinic Children, so we kind of go hand in hand, and how we work with people, with patients, clients. all that. So it's a beautiful thing.
That's awesome, Tim. So let's go back to you as an athlete, because I know you mentioned that you played football in college. So tell us a little bit about your journey as an athlete.
Absolutely. So yeah, I played college football at Walsh University. I was a place kicker, I was a punter, I was a defensive back. To take a step back even further, I was not the best athlete in my class in grade school, high school, even, throughout college. It was actually, for me, I kind of felt like I was always a late bloomer. Like my
Mm,
athletic ability, my diligence, work ethic, discipline, and commitment kind of came like towards the tail end of my career and even after. And not for any reason, not for any, negative reasons, but it was just kind of me figuring out like, hey, what does discipline look like? What does hard work look like in my own individual way, right? For me, as an athlete, whether it was football, it was baseball, basketball, even running track, I just wanted to be the best teammate I could be, right? I just wanted to lift people up,
yeah.
try to lead in any way that I can. But I found that in that area, I was not very good in that area. For me, confidence, lack confidence a little bit, nervous,
Hmm.
anxiety, all that kind of stuff kind of carried throughout my athletic career. But again, like I said, towards the tail end of my college career and even, doing stuff after, I really started to develop some good habits, some good routines with that. And I've had great coaches and mentors along the way to help. So, what started off kind of shaky
Yeah.
really, really evolved over time. And I'm thankful for that because a lot of great lessons, and, good action items that have come from that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So in high school, you didn't see yourself as becoming a college athlete?
It's funny, and I think we've all done this, like in our eighth grade like yearbooks, right? Like when we see that picture, we say, "Hey, what is your goal?" And my goal, I remember it like my corny picture of eighth grade is like, I want to play sports professionally. So like there was no real like actual goal. It
Mm-hmm.
was just like, hey, I want to be a pro athlete, right?
Yeah.
And so, when you're
Well,
that young, you don't really know like, okay, the process to get there, what that looks like, the adversities, the challenges, the seasons of life per se. So for me, it was kind of like, man, like I really want to get to this level. So how do I get there? And it was kind of like I wanted to
mm,
get there right now. So it was this idea of like, okay, well, maybe some microwave success, maybe some something like, okay, if I just work out a couple times a week, I'll be at that point in 1 to 2 years, right? So at that time, I didn't really fully engage in like what fitness looked like, what my physical health needed to be at, what my mental health, even my emotional intelligence needed to be at. I was kind of timid to be in the weight room early on because I didn't really know like the proper form, the movement. I had a great
mm-hmm.
strength and conditioning coach in high school, Brian Mong. To this day, I always give him credit, but my attention span to the details was not there.
Right.
Not out of ego, but just purely lack of interest, really. It was more so like I just wanted to
Okay.
see the product on the field versus like the
Mm,
the work ethic on the backside of it, right? So
yeah.
I would say that's kind of like where like the confidence issues came in. Is like, man, like I'm not trusting my craft. I'm not trusting what I'm doing. So how
Mm-hmm.
can it possibly come out on the field? As time went on, they got a lot better. They got a lot better, just,
Yeah.
attention to detail, taking coaching, right? Because sometimes we don't want to take coaching, but in that, as I was
Yeah.
growing, as I was learning, developing, I was like, okay, these are good coaches that I have. These are good mentors. I should listen more and then actually apply what they're telling me. So I think it all started, I'd say, grade school, high school, and then college. Like, man, something clicked, when I was like 19, 20 years
Mm-hmm.
old. I was like, all right, this is the way right here. So,
Okay. So you got to college to play foot. I mean, did you knew when you were going there that you were going to play football, you were going to kick,
yeah.
and so that's when you decided like, okay, now I want to actually be the best I can be.
Absolutely.
Would you
So
say?
was fortunate to earn a college scholarship to Walsh while I was in high school. I had a great junior and senior year in high school. Our high school team won the
Okay.
state championship, and the recruiting coach that I had worked with that I have known forever. He's actually in my book. I wrote about him, Coach Fankhauser. He was at the
Mm,
state championship
yeah.
game. I had met him a year before. We just had great conversations, and he knew who I was inside and out. But my performance throughout that season earned me a scholarship, and yeah, and then freshman year kind of went right into it. It was a 4 year
Yeah.
4-year starter, struggled a lot in those first couple years. Kind of came in with an ego a little bit, right? You
Mm-hmm.
win the state championship with your high school team. You're like, yep, I got a
Yeah.
state championship ring, this and that. I don't need to work hard. I've already done that, so now I can just kind of skate through everything. Well, that kind of gave me a great punch in the gut those first couple seasons on what hard work really looks
Yeah.
like and how it evolves, as you get older.
When would you say you discovered fitness, Tim? When would you say you discovered the power of training and using fitness to be better?
Yeah, I honestly discovered it my freshman year, when we were doing like our summer like max out tests on bench press,
Mm-hmm.
squat, times
Yep.
40s, like the basic conditioning tests, right? Everybody else was just stronger than I was, faster than I was, could move in different planes of direction. And now, granted, in my mind, like, well, I'm a field goal kicker, I'm a punter. Like, do I really need this, or should I just focus on leg strength, right? But man, that was like an immediate gut check for me. I was like, man, like I need to actually put in the time with this. I need to put in the time,
Mm.
and not just like, not just like, okay, I'm going to work hard for a month and be done. I got to do this daily. It's got to be a daily practice, a
Wow.
routine. I got
Yeah.
to get in the weight room. I got to eat right. Right. Cause like when you get to college and you play college football or you play any college sport, nutrition is often the thing that you don't even think about. You're just like, okay, I had this
Right.
conditioning session, I had this workout. I'm just going to fill my body up with whatever. Go to the school cafeteria, and that's kind of where my mindset was like, all right, fitness was starting to get there, but my nutrition was still lacking. So once I kind of fixed that a little bit, added a little bit more hydration and fueling to practices, to games, I noticed a significant difference.
Yeah. That's definitely a great tip. And I think that people, I mean, college athletes, you can get away with a lot when you're young,
Yes, you
right?
can.
That's what I say. These kids, they don't have to.
No.
They don't know that they would be better if they did, but they can get away with a lot. As we get older, we start to realize how much more being dialed in can make a difference. So let's fast forward to you as an athlete now, because I know you've had some significant achievements as a post college athlete. How did you get into Did you start with triathlons or did you? Okay, no.
No.
Okay, I want to hear about this.
So this is actually really interesting. So my dad he ran cross country and track at Ohio State in college, and
Oh wow.
like distance running, any kind of running, not my forte. Like hated it. Even like through college, like when I was done playing football and I kept trying to make it to the next level, the next thing that came into play was like, all right, I'll just do like a silly 5K and just like do it for the community, all that kind of stuff. And then I started seeing things about Tough Mudders and Spartan races and Savage, like all these obstacle
Oh,
course races. And it was like, it wasn't
yeah.
just running, it was crawling in the mud, it was doing pull ups, it was climbing
Mm,
over walls. I'm like, okay, this sounds pretty cool. Like there's running, but you get to do other stuff. So I started with that, fell in love with it. And I'm talking, I at least
wow.
did 2 or 3 races a year, 2015 through 2017 or 18. Just loved that competition part of it because now it was on like an individual basis versus team. I've been a part of team sports for a long time, and now it was like, okay, I've experienced team success. Let's see how I do with individual success, right? Relying on my own habits, my routines, what I'm doubting on, what's important to me, all that. So really, again, like that fitness part really evolved after college. I was like, okay, now I know I'm aware of my body, how I can move. What's the next level look like? Okay, now I'm more aware of my nutritional needs, like what I need, not what I needed in college, but what I need now, 23, 24, 25 years old. And so when I did that, like it paired up nicely. And what I'll say is those obstacle course races actually led me to trying out for American Ninja Warrior in 2017,
Oh my
which
gosh. I didn't
yeah, this
know.
is yeah. A lot of people don't. It was quite an experience for those that have seen that on TV. But man, you talk about all those again different movements, a lot of grip strength, endurance, conditioning, all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I was just always looking for that next challenge with fitness,
Mm-hmm.
right? I knew football was done for me. I knew I wasn't going to be punting in the NFL or any other pro. I was like, you know what? Okay, football's done. I'm still coaching football, which is great because I can give back to this generation of student athletes. But what does the next level of fitness look like for me? And I never knew that until I started getting into these obstacle course races and running. I remember going to this Tough Mudder in Nashville. Me and my buddy Anthony Schrock, who played with me at Walsh, he was a receiver, and we were standing in line, and there's this guy wearing an Ironman shirt. And Anthony asked, like, hey, have you done an Ironman? And he's like, yeah, like I just did one a couple months ago. Like it was awesome. I loved it. And I asked him, what is an Ironman? Because in my mind, I'm thinking of like iron, like,
Yeah.
yeah, like the actual like superhero, right? And he's like, no, like, you swim, you bike, you run. It's a triathlon. I'm like, okay, like this sounds interesting. I'm not even kidding you, Kelly. Like 2 months later, I signed up for my first like Ironman sanctioned event. It was an Ironman 7.3.
You did an Ironman before you did like a normal triathlon?
Yes, I went right into a
Oh.
70.3 Ironman, which is a half Ironman. So it's a 1.2 mile swim, it's 56 miles on the bike, and then a half marathon to finish. That's a 70.3. But 2019 was my first one. I didn't own a bike. I had not swam in I don't know how long, and running was like
I was gonna
I did
say.
like one half marathon before all that. So I was kind of green in all three areas, but I was like, oh, this guy wore a
Oh
cool
my
shirt.
gosh.
Sounds awesome. I'm going to do it. So I signed up, and sure enough, seven half Ironmans later, like here I am. So I fell in love with
Wow.
it from the jump.
Wow. And you did, I mean, obviously from the get-go, 'cause some people really train and follow a strict training protocol. Did you do all that
Oh, I
even
did.
for your first one?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's why, the evolution of how like how I saw strength and conditioning, how I saw fitness and coaching really helped me, because I followed like a very simple like 16-week plan for completing your first Ironman 70.3. So it was very structured. It was like, hey, you're going to do 3 swims a week, you're going to do 3 bike workouts, you're going to do 3 runs. There's going to be a speed swim workout, speed bike, speed run, and then everything else. Make sure you're hitting the mileage and figuring out how to get your running stride back from getting off the bike immediately. So there was all these like brand new things that I was learning on the go, but having that plan kept me to it. Like I was like, I
Yeah.
cannot miss. I cannot miss this
You like
day.
structure.
Exactly. I cannot miss this day,
Yeah.
this workout, because I'm not in a position where I've done this before. So if I miss and then I fall victim to, oh, okay, well, it's okay if I miss today. Okay, well then, it's okay if I miss this workout tomorrow. I was going to fall into a bad habit. So in my mind, I'm like, discipline will win out. No matter how my
Yeah.
mind and body felt, I was going to do something about it with the swimming, with the bike, and the running. And that's ultimately what led me to like getting triathlon fever after I crossed the finish line. I'm like, I love this stuff. This is
Yeah.
keeping me grounded. It's
Yeah.
keeping me sharp as at the time, as a boyfriend to my wife now, Riley, as a
Yeah.
teammate, as a leader, and all the stuff I was doing in my career. It kept me sharp.
Yeah.
There's a big thing with health. We all hear it all the time, like he or she who has their health has 1,000 dreams and wishes, he or she who does not has one. That's what kept me grounded. Like the whole like circle was like, man, like this structure right here, if my health is good,
Yeah.
everything else is gonna be better.
And it does make sense. I mean, you went from doing multiple sports in high school, playing a sport in college, and then a lot of people that's a big drop off for them.
Hmm.
And that's a really I'm seeing it with my boys. It's a
Hmm.
really hard chapter
It's so
when your
tough.
college sport ends.
Yeah.
And you got to find something else because you're kind of addicted to the juice of the game or the juice of
Oh yeah.
training. So I think that's great, Tim. So now I know you're kind of off training. You're about to have your second child.
Hmm.
So that might not be your top priority right now,
Right.
which it makes sense. That
Hmm.
makes sense. We have seasons of life, not something that you won't do again, but maybe just not right now. So, what do you do for your own personal fitness now?
Yeah, and to that point, Kelly, I am very at peace with not doing any Ironman races this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
When you
I can
do
see that.
7 of them in 4 years, you're like, okay, this is a good time to
Yeah.
take a step back and maybe refine some
Mm-hmm.
other areas like strength training or recovery or
Yep.
just daily walks. Right? I think we kind of
Yeah.
we kind of underestimate like how much walks actually help. Right?
I
So
totally agree.
my fitness routine, and last year I didn't do an Ironman race last year, a 70.3 last year, but I did do a half marathon at the end of October in my hometown of Columbus, and I love that competing aspect of it. Like, hey, I
Mm-hmm.
just I just need to compete, right? And the compete aspect is like, I'm not trying to like beat everybody else, right? It's, hey, can I be a little bit better than I was in my previous race, or can I beat my
Sure.
previous time? So that's like where I'm at right now with my fitness routine, is like, I'm just trying to be as healthy as I possibly can for as long as I possibly can.
Mm.
So I can pick Sloan up and throw her in the air until she's whatever age, and then this new baby. So that's how fitness and health has evolved for me. I'm still an athlete. I'm still competing at a high level. And to be quite honest, I feel like I'm in better shape now than I was when I was competing in college, to be honest with you. But that's how I think of it now, is like, hey,
Yeah.
you know, what can you do now to continually, incrementally get better? And that's what it boils down to.
Well, I think one thing that is unique about you, especially since you're so young, is the variety that you've
Mhm.
given your body.
Yeah.
I think your body's going to really appreciate that. Runners that continually just run for decades, usually that ends, so you're giving yourself a chance to have a longer career. And I know where I personally am in my fitness. That's my answer to everything. I
Yeah.
just want to be able to keep doing this. I
Longevity.
don't need to win any prizes. I just want to be able to keep doing this. This is really important to me. It makes me feel good. So staying in the game in some capacity. I think the diversity that you talked about is really great. Let's talk about you as a trainer coach, because I know that's another hat that you've been wearing and that you love. I know that's kind of something that really lights you up, is to help other people with their fitness. Give us some history on how that started and how that's going.
Yeah, so man, have been in the fitness, health and wellness industry for over 10 years now. It all started, my love for it actually started my junior year of college, when I would go back home like during winter break, and I'd work out at my high school. It'd be me and my old strength coach Brian Long. And we'd be in there by ourselves, and
Oh.
like, his playlist, like it was like always Linkin Park. Like I loved Linkin Park. That was like my first concert, and I was like in seventh grade. And just like the movement patterns we would do, like everything was full body, everything was
Mm.
functional, like everything was, let's translate this to the game, let's translate this to real life, let's translate this to how is this going to help you sleep better and recover. So from the jump, he's always had it in my mind. So we
Yeah.
talk about like network mentorship coaching. Like I think it started with Brian, but man, like every time I go back and I'd be home for a month, we work out every day. I'm like, okay, I love this stuff. Like, and not just like working
Mm.
out, but like he's helping me get better. So how can I
Mm.
then pass this on? How can I move this forward? So really, I just started like training some of my teammates, like without getting paid for it, without any like kind of sanctioned
Yep.
session. It was just like, hey Tim, can you stick around? Like, let's do some speed work, let's do some band work, let's do some stretching, right? And so literally just like small things like that. That's kind of how I gained that love for it. And the really cool thing about it is this, Kelly, is that fitness part, the like the work ethic, the discipline, the commitment, that's something that I was not good at in my early years
Yeah.
in grade school and high school, even throughout college. I was not good at it. It was a weakness of mine. And so, what I've always remembered about this, and you remember this in Whitefish from a couple of years ago, like our divine uniqueness is serving the person that we once were. So, in a way, I was like,
Mm.
man, like, can I be the person that I needed then,
Yeah.
right? And how can I
Yeah.
do this? And how can it evolve over time? I was 20 years old, like helping my teammates who like were stiff and sore, like helping them stretch, showing them some band work, all that. And now it's like, man, like like the clients that I work with, my group classes, my small group, the people that I've worked with over the last 10 years, like it's just been such an honor for me to give that knowledge back to them. It's just like, hey, how can I,
Yeah.
like to your point, how can I increase your longevity, keep you moving as an athlete, help you pick up your kids, your grandkids, your great grandkids, and keep moving in the optimal way. So the beauty of how that started was just like, man, like Coach Mong, like, thank you. Now I can pass that on. And that's how I train my clients. Like everything's full body for me. Everything's full body, every plane of motion, every movement, every direction. Like we're going to do it. And it's not to say that I train everybody as if they're an NFL star. We do movements similar to that, but it's always meeting that person where they are at physically, mentally, spiritually. So if it's a 20-year-old that can do a 42-inch box jump with ease, okay, let's try a single leg box gym. But if it's somebody who's 70 years old, that we're just trying to make sure their gait pattern, their walking, their balance is good. Okay, let's just do a single leg balance touch. Let's work on that. Not
Mm.
just do it once, but
Yep.
continuously over time. That's how I approach fitness and training.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you do, I know you do a Saturday boot camp because we've talked to,
oh man,
we've
yeah.
shared Saturday boot camp stories. So you have a full-time job, but before then, before you start your day job, you still train clients or
Yes,
still. Okay.
absolutely. So, I'll just kind of give you like a rundown. Like Monday through Friday, I get my workout in first at like I'll get up at 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning. I'll get
Oh
my
my
stuff
gosh.
in, and then I'll start training 5:15, 5:30. And then my last client, we're done by about 8:30, 8:45. I'll sign on for my job. And then here and there, like I'll have like, life coaching sessions in as well. And then like my group classes, like I teach that boot camp on Saturday,
Yeah.
cycle, and then like any other hit classes, however they're thrown in. So before, like, and this was probably 2 or 3 years ago, like I would teach a boot camp every morning, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, even like Saturdays. And I got to a point I was like, man, like how do I feel like I just did kettlebell swings the other day. Like, how can I not do kettlebell swings for this one? So it was always a challenge for me to
Yeah.
not just come up with
Yeah.
something brand new, but to keep it consistent with my energy, with making sure if somebody walked in the door that they left feeling way better than they did when they came in. And now that's always been my MO is the energy and meeting people where they're at and the hand on the shoulder and the eye contact and the coaching. You could throw out like you could do a bunch of advanced movements all the time, but you know what? That like what matters is like the experience you're delivering. Right. And so that's how I approach
Yeah.
everything. So
Yeah. So you're still pretty lit up about coaching and
oh my
training. That's
gosh,
great
I
because
love
people
it.
get burnout and it's important to stay lit up and protect your passion and make sure that I think your attitude about how you want to go into it. I think that's really significant. And I tell people that people that are on my team, and I tell myself that like you need to walk in there like this is the most important hour of the day because
Yeah.
it is.
And
And for each client,
yeah,
for every class or whatever it is, it's so important. And I think people really value that. They value the way you show up and it makes them want to show up because they
absolutely.
know that you're showing up. So it's like this like synergistic, like
Yeah.
we're, helping each other in a really special way. So I love
The
that you said that about the way you show up.
Yeah. Well, and to touch on that, Kelly, and you just hit it. Like, look, I get this question all the time. Like, how do you have so much energy? Like, why are you like, how are you always like motivated? I'm not. Like truthfully, like, how do you work out so early in the morning every day? I'm not. Like, I'm not motivated to do that. But if you rewind this episode, you go back to what I said about like good habits, good routine, consistency, being committed to it, doing the thing that you said you were going to do. That's what it always falls back on for me. Like, there are days like, and I've told this to my Saturday class. I give them like a little 90 seconds of power, some like nuggets of wisdom after every class, something to take home with them. I tell them like, man, like the last thing I wanted to do was come in and teach this class. Like I got zero sleep, like Sloan was awake like every hour. Like I did not have it. But you know what? Like what has always felt true, like near and true to my heart is like, man, I got to keep showing up. And how I show up matters, right? Like you can show
Mm,
up and just kind of go through the motions, right? But how you show up matters. And that's, man, sometimes that's just smiling. That's just giving out the great energy that you have, whatever your best looks like that
yeah.
day. And then just have an intent to help one person. And then usually that compound effect adds up. And when you start something, start before you're ready. Like that's how things start to happen. It's like you do it when you
Yeah.
don't feel like doing it. And that's
Yep.
why I'm so fired up talking about this because like there are days that I
Yeah.
do not feel like being a coach or a trainer, or even like other hats. I'm like, oh, do I got to do this today? Okay, no, yeah, I do. Let's step out of it. And it falls right
Yeah.
back to my habits and routine.
Yeah.
So
One of the things that you write about in your book is, and I'm curious when you adopted this, is doing something every day that you say it sucks. I use that word too. Like
Yeah.
to do something that like, okay, I don't really want to do this, but I'm gonna do it anyway. What,
Oh
give us
man.
a little bit of information on that. I like that.
Whew. Yeah, you know what? As much as find a way has been a mantra in my life, in all on all levels, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, get after it and doing it anyway. That great Mother Teresa analysis on life. I remember my mom sharing that with me, when I was really young. It's like, hey, like you're gonna be tired. Do it anyway. Like you're not gonna want to do something. You're not going to want to be a good teammate. You're not going to want to be a good leader, but you know what? Do it anyway because you're going to feel so much better after it. And I think, no matter how small or how big the act of that, like how I view it is like there's always going to be some sort of struggle before you see success. There's always going to be
Yeah.
some sort of fear before you feel fulfilled. There's always going to be some kind of pain before joy proceed, like just all those things. And when I really start to like take a step back, I take a deep breath. I'm like, all right, this is the last thing I want to do. But like, if I just like start doing it, if I start writing, if I just, start that interaction that I have with somebody, if I walk in the doors to go train at 5:30 in the morning client that maybe I don't want to train because I haven't had enough sleep. Once I start doing it and once I start just kind of like feeling like, man, like I got two arms, two legs, like thank God for what I can do, that's how you kind of push through those
Yeah.
barriers that we often place in ourselves. Is like, man, like at the end of the day, like, we get to change lives, and we get to do this in a way that's hopefully helping someone. Because I think everything that we do in life, no matter what occupation you are, what role you have, is like it starts with a desire to help people. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how, to your question, that's how I
Yeah.
get to that, is like desire to help. I got to make this person better. I'm here for a reason, for this half-hour session, for this 45-minute class, for this hour, for this meeting that I'm on, right? Like, hey, how can you make somebody better in the room? So,
Yeah. Tim, go back to when you were a kid. I'm curious. I mean, a lot of our listeners have kids that are that high school kid that maybe doesn't seem motivated, aren't doing the things that the parents wish that they were doing. How did your parents handle that? Or did you just have really high expectations? Were you a slacker? Were you someone that wasn't doing the things that you were supposed to be doing? Or were you just not living up to your own expectations?
I think so. What I'll say is this, and I greatly credit my parents with my upbringing. I had a fantastic upbringing. Like two blue collar
Mm-hmm.
parents that worked hard, have had great career. Like my mom just retired as she'd been an RN for 43 years, which in and of itself is amazing. But you talk about like
Wow.
you're raised with like core values of like showing compassion for people, staying positive no matter what, and then seeing the good in everything. I've always felt that, but in ways that maybe I didn't fully understand. Like when I was a kid, when I would go to a practice and I wouldn't do so well, high school, college, I'd come back and I'd immediately make excuses or complain like, oh well, I've worked so hard. Why isn't this happening? Why am I not seeing the success? Why am I not good at public speaking? Why am I stuttering, stammer? Why am I timid in conversations with people? Like I've worked so hard. Well, really, like as I over the years, as I've started to realize, like I didn't work that hard. I thought I did, but
Mm,
hard work to me was like, oh yeah, I studied for a half hour, or I worked on this skill for one day out of the week. And so this is also kind of a message to like, high school, college athletes, like, man, like hard work is not what you think. Like work ethic is not what you think. Like it is really staying committed to it and
mm,
not deviating from ultimately like who and what you want to be, like to perform at the optimal level. So when you're in high school and college, you don't really, for me, I don't think I fully understood that from like a knowledge perspective of like, hey, this is what your physical health should look like. Physical health for me, like the best physical health at that stage is like, oh, I got to make sure I have low percentage of body fat and be able to bench 225 20 times. Like that was the idea of physical health for
mm-hmm.
me. And with schoolwork, like public speaking, oh, I want to speak just like Tony Robbins. Like there's like, oh, I got to be able to get at that level. So maybe if I just practice for 30 minutes, I'll get. It is like a consistent, like daily, I mean, even like moment to moment like thing where you have to work at it. And I think sometimes like we see stuff on social media, on TV, we get in that comparison trap of like, well, they got to this level. I'm sure it wasn't as hard. So maybe if I do the exact same thing that they did, I will get there too. No, we all have our own individual paths, our own individual journeys of how that should look. And when you really focus on how it should look for you individually and purposefully and whatever that uniqueness is within you, I think that's kind of how you discover like how to move forward with that.
Yeah. So do you feel like fitness was you used fitness as something tangible that you could see yourself working hard and getting better and then apply that to other areas of your life?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, I did use fitness as a tangible, like I wanted to see results right away. So then if I saw results right away, like okay, because I'm seeing this right away, everything else will work right away. Like I'll have like a great relationship right away. I'll have great connections like with my peers or my friends or coworkers. But when I got past that idea of like the immediate success instead of like actually seeking fulfillment, that's when things started to change for me. And I noticed that in college, in high school, like, you can't
Yeah.
can't really tell right away because like you're sometimes like you want to fit into certain friend groups or you want to fit in, you just want to be a part of the team or like you want to score the winning goal, you want to be a part of something bigger, right? So like you're
Mm,
you're so stuck on that maybe you don't want to figure out what your actual like potential looks like and really diving into that. And so as you get older, as you mature, as you get better coaches and mentors and a better network, because all those things are pivotal in finding that
yeah.
out. I think that's kind of like where that whole self discovery comes in. Yes, fitness was like, oh, yep, if I do this, everything else will be better. Well, no, like I was like, you know what? This is going to be a long process, but I am committed to doing like these small things each and every day
Mm,
versus like big
yeah.
things, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So do you have so the name of the podcast is Start Before You're Ready. Can you think, I mean, it sounds like triathlon training or Ironman training for sure. Any other examples that you could think of a time when you started before you were ready?
You know, I could use so many examples to be honest with you. And I think, obviously doing an Ironman without like having like a bike, like at the beginning of the year and doing all that, I think that'd be a very easy example to fall back on. But I actually want to share one that I am extremely proud of, not from like an ego perspective, but like that's really shaped me in my communication and interpersonal skills. I kind of briefly mentioned like when I was in grade school and high school, even the first few years of college, like I hated public speaking. I hated writing. Like it was like the two worst things that I could possibly want to is like getting up in front of the class and presentations. Like I dreaded it. Like I would be like the kid that was stuttering, stammering. Everybody in the class was like, "Oh, Tim's got a presentation. Like let's make sure we watch." And so I was so nervous. Like there was anxiety related to it, and it translated everywhere, like to the field, athletic, like everywhere,
Mm,
right? And
yeah.
so I was just so afraid of that, and like writing, like just wasn't there. I just didn't want to write long papers, essays, punctuation wasn't there, grammar, all that. But you know what? A huge turning point for me, and this was after college in 2018, when Snapchat was still pretty big. This is when I was really deep into the fitness industry of like training every hour, training as many people as I could, meeting as many people as I could, all that. And I was like, well, you know what? I heard the other day like somebody really likes hearing my voice, or they really like my motivation or energy, or whatever it is. So on January 1st, I took my phone and I just sent like a 1 minute like Snapchat video to like four people. Like that was some kind of motivating. I don't even know what it was. It's still saved on here, but I know it was
Aw.
like a 1 minute long. It was just something to get their day started, whatever. I think it was early in the morning. And then I was like, okay, that sounded pretty good. Like I'm gonna do it again tomorrow. So January 2nd, boom, same thing, sent, same four people. The following week, because I kept doing it every day, somebody had shared like, hey, Tim Carter's been sending me these like really cool videos, like motivating messages. Like, do you want to be like, okay? So then like my list grew to like eight people, and then by the end of the year, Kelly, December 31st, I had done it 364 days in a row. I'm not even kidding. Like, and if
Wow.
you were to search my Snapchat archives, every morning I get a reminder from 7 years ago that I did this every day. Man, like that helped my confidence so much from a public speaking
Mm,
standpoint. I noticed like watching the video, rewatching it back, I noticed like my facial expressions, like how much confidence I was exuding in that,
Yeah.
because it wasn't just like this fluff that I was giving out, like, oh yeah, you got to be mentally tough and you got to do this. You get like, it was like deep stuff. It was like, hey, I struggled
Mm.
with this, but like, you know what? Because I struggled with that, it allowed me to get better at, like, it's just meaningful
Yeah.
things that we all need to hear in our everyday lives as parents, as business owners, as trainers, as medical professionals, teachers, whatever walk of life you're in. And I was just so proud of that. Like, I did it 365 days in a row. And from there, speaking took off for me. Like, I started doing talks at nonprofits, local
Yeah.
businesses. And it was just so cool. A huge weakness became a strength for me. And so, man,
That's
I always think about that year. I'm like, it's awesome. It's awesome.
It's such a great example, Tim. I really think it's such a great example. And it's like everything. And I talk about this in my community a lot. It's just putting in the reps, just showing up and just putting in the reps. And I know when you continue to do that every day, you probably still thought about those 4 people that you were originally sending that message to.
Mm-hmm.
So it was heartfelt. You weren't just talking to the air, you were talking to people that you felt like needed you.
Yeah.
And knowing that they valued it and shared it probably gave you confidence,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a great example how like people help people, right?
Oh my
Like it was
gosh.
like
Yeah.
something that you were doing to help other people, but they liked it so much that they wanted to help other people,
Mm-hmm.
and then it helped you. I just love that example.
Yeah.
And it really is true. If you want to get better at something, just start doing it. Just
Literally.
start doing it. And that's really what this is all this podcast is all about, is don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be perfect. The starting a podcast, I did not put a lot of thought into it. I just knew that I wanted to talk to people that I felt like had value to add, that my community would love to hear from. And I go into it with the idea like, okay, if this is valuable for other people, if they like hearing other people's stories as much as I do, then this will be great.
Yeah.
And if not, I'll stop doing it. It's fine.
Right.
Like it's not, but it is a great way. I wish younger, I mean, you're young, but I wish younger people would hear that message more, because I think it's so easy to overthink something and then not do it and then to miss an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And it just start. And if you don't like it, it's okay. You don't have to keep
Absolutely.
doing it.
Yeah.
Like if you could have just done those messages for a week, but you liked
Mm-hmm.
it. So you kept doing it
Mm-hmm.
and it spoke to you and it had value. So I
Yeah.
think that's like probably the best example of start before you're ready.
Yeah.
That's a
No,
really great example.
and it's so true. I mean, we don't always like. I think we're just kind of designed that like we need validation in some way, shape, or form. Like what we're doing, like hopefully it works, right? Like
Yeah,
when you're
sure.
running your business, like you want to be sure, like, hey, your classes are meeting the expectations of your community. Like your people love when you have your van like in the parking lot and they're getting a great workout. It's the same thing everywhere else. Like, so for me, like getting that validation, like the first couple days, I was like, it doesn't always have to reach 100 people, but if it can
Right.
reach one person, and then that one person, like you said, can pass it on to the next, like I think ultimately that's what matters.
Yeah.
And I truly value that portion of it, and that greatly affects like how it is in my relationships in my family, who I train, who I work with, the people in the mastermind group. There is such a
Yeah.
beautiful effect of that when all you do is you just want to help. Like that's literally,
Mm-hmm.
it's so simple, but we
Yeah.
make it so complex sometimes because
Yeah.
we want to see the result immediately. And I know I was definitely like that in high school and in college, and even like early mid 20s. Do I still get like that now? Absolutely, I think we all do.
Yeah.
But it's always gonna come back to like, hey, like what is like the actual like purpose and the mission and the objective and the vision that you have of what it is you are doing. And if you keep doing that, if you keep following your core values and like the foundation of who you are, it'll never fail.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's interesting that because you said that a bunch, and that doesn't, I mean, just being totally honest, that doesn't speak to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't never expect to see results immediately,
Right.
ever. I don't even, and it's interesting that that's a big part of your personality. But as you've mentioned, you've turned it into a superpower. You've turned it into like, you don't get defeated if you don't, you just keep going. And I think that's a great lesson for people too. And I don't know, maybe it's a male female thing, maybe it's a generational, I don't know, but seeing results immediately isn't, I don't see that as much. I don't even know if I say I would my boys, if I'd say think that they think that, I wonder if that's just part of how you're wired. And maybe that's what makes you such an overachiever, because you do want to, you have that drive. Tim, let's talk a little bit about the mastermind, because we're both in the Todd Durkin mastermind. And that's, where we've spent a lot of time together. What would you say for you the most valuable part of the mastermind is?
I think I talk about it a lot too. I just think that, the power of team and community is everything. And that's not only just like, your community at home, but like who you're pouring into and who's pouring into you to then help, increase your energy and your love for your own community. And for me, being a part of the mastermind since 2019 has greatly, it's obviously helped, my business, coaching, training, how I do things. Honestly, like my favorite part is when we go to these retreats or we're on these calls and just like seeing my peeps, right? Like that's like at the end of the day, like that's what matters the most to me is
the
like,
connection.
and yeah, exactly. Like that connection piece is huge. Like, network being your net worth, right? I view people in the mastermind not only as like colleagues and teammates, but like friends, like deep friendships, right? People that you'd be in the foxhole with, like when stuff goes south, right? Like I do have a handful of people that I, lean into in that regard. And just like the coaching, the coaching has evolved too. Obviously we know how great of a coach Todd has been, but man, just, Frank, Kelly, Jill, Lisa, Larry, they have all had a significant imprint on what I do and in my life. So I'm always grateful to that. So that community network piece is huge for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of the people in the mastermind and just speaking to coaching, well, a lot of people in fitness in general have have their own personal sports background. Yeah. Sports was a big part of their life, and they like being on a team, and they like having other people to cheer for and to cheer for them. And I think that is definitely a commonality I see in all of us. There's just something like we like to be able to be part of something bigger than ourselves. It was really great to talk to you, Tim. And I think that there's so much value in what you said, but I think there's a lot more. And I highly encourage people to get your book if they don't have it yet. I know some of my community has it. Find a Way: Unlocking Your Best Self. Bam. By Tim Carter, yes. And he's very vulnerable, and he shares a lot in his book about his story and just being an overachiever in a lot of ways, but also being someone that wants to pour into other people. And that's a big part of your story. And I think you're just getting started, really. I think you're just getting started. And I just want to say, I really, really value how you're able to manage you taking care of your family, doing what you're passionate about, serving other people, showing up in the mastermind. It's a lot. And it's okay. Like, I'm going to be like a mom right now. It's okay if it's like becomes too much. Like you don't have to always do all those things as now you're going to have 2 kids and now you're going to, but don't ever let go of the things that you love always. Cause what I've heard from you more than anything today, Tim, is your passion that you have to be doing something that lights you up. That's just part of your identity. So I think you'll figure it out. Find a Way is the name of your book, buddy.
Amen.
I think you'll figure it out, but just keep doing what you're doing, because it's super impressive. I know everyone in the mastermind is just a huge fan of yours in the way that you show up. And I really appreciate you being a guest on my podcast today.
Awesome. Kelly, thank you so much for having me on. I had so much fun talking with you as always. Yeah. And same to you. Keep doing what you're doing. Cause I love seeing.
Yeah. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've never been on Snapchat. So I didn't want to say that before. I don't know what you're talking about.
It's we'll discuss it some other time at a retreat.
Okay. I know my kids are, I know. But I don't use send direct messages to people. I kind of like that.
Mhm.
That's kind of nice.
Yeah.
But Snapchat still exists, right?
It does. I
Okay.
don't use it really. I mean,
You don't use it anymore.
We have like a family one that's just like
okay.
pictures and videos of like Sloan running around, which is awesome.
Okay.
But I don't it's just on my phone. It's there.
Yeah.
I just love the audio message feature now.
I love that.
My favorite part.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love it. I love it when you send me audio messages. All right, awesome. Tim, so great talking to you. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy day. And we will definitely talk soon.
All right. Thanks, Kelly.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.